What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside the Five. I'm Griff.
Will.
I'm Stav.
And in this episode, we're going to be recapping everything that has gone down in week 2. A lot of games, a lot of madness from week 2. So, hey, what do we say, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Five. We had a hell of a weekend, I would say, of football. We started off Thursday night with Chargers-Chiefs, which we had quite an interesting game. Definitely not the game that I expected we were going to see on Thursday night football. I was expecting high scoring. It definitely wasn't. It was decently scoring-wise. Chiefs won 27-24, but I kind of expected bigger scoring margins, I would say. We did not bolt up this week, unfortunately. So Victory Monday we don't get to feel that once again. But what do we say about the game, guys?
It was a good game. To be fair, I thought that the Chargers controlled the entire game up until around halfway through the third quarter. The fourth quarter, they were leading. They were going into score. And then Justin Herbert, obviously, that pick six, that they were going up tempo. It's such a difficult situation because Gerald Everett wanted to be out, but the offense is rolling, and then he targets him and doesn't make the play that he could have if he was fully energized, per se. But, we're a Chargers podcast. I'm not necessarily worried about this team. I think that it's clear that the Chiefs and the Chargers are the two best teams in the AFC West, and it's not even close. And Justin Herbert's him. He played like a dog. He showed a lot of grit and a lot of heart, especially in the last drive when he threw that deep touchdown after it looked like he couldn't even move. So, Griff, what do you think about Justin Herbert, about this team right now?
I'm glad you asked that question, Stav, because Justin Herbert, as he should be, is the main worry of all Bolt fans. I'm here to say this. This is a classic Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers type thing where he's going to play through this. Like Matthew Stafford, you could say as well. He's going to play through this injury. It came out that he had suffered a fractured rib cartilage, which is, I guess you could just say a way of saying that he broke one of his ribs. The bad news is the same doctor that treated Tyrod Taylor and gave him that shot is the one treating Justin Herbert. But that's also the doctor that made Justin Herbert step onto the NFL field for the first time. So he's pro Justin Herbert, as am I. I do want to say, as for this injury that took place during the game, a lot of people think that it happened during that last drive, and he was very shaken up during that last drive, but that's because it had already taken place. He got hurt in the second quarter. He kept getting hit. He kept getting damaged. I don't know how many sacks the Chiefs had, but they were rolling. That defensive line looked very, very good from Kansas City. Justin Herbert took a toll because of it, and I'm just going to go out and say right now, if Justin Herbert's fully healthy during that game, they win. They win that game. I really do believe it. And the fact that he went out there, he threw that long ball, like you said, Stav, after getting hit, getting knocked down, and almost not even being able to get back up after it, was a test to kind of what he's going to be like throughout the rest of his career. And this is the first time that we've seen him in the league, have any sort of injury. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how he battles it. He's expected to be a go for week 3. So I'm hoping that we're not rushing anything. I'm hoping that he's actually – he's not going to be 100% because we saw him last week. But I'm hoping that he's at the point where he can play without really having a risk of having, like, say, a season-ending injury. That would be something very stupid that the Chargers would do. So I'm hoping that's not the case, Will.
100%. Obviously, you don't like to see Justin Herbert going down with any sort of injury. He's a young, fun quarterback in this league. 2, obviously, being a Chargers fan, we don't want to see him go down at all, period, especially taking a loss to the Chiefs, which is big for the division because we have high hopes, obviously. That team is very, very good. But I would like to say that we definitely the wildest play I think I've ever seen was Derwin James body slamming Travis Kelce. Not once did I think that anyone would be able to do that ever.
That was something he needed to do after he got trucked by Akers. He got bodied by Cam Akers. He needed to come back and do something. He suplexed him. That was a crazy play. that was a crazy play, and especially against someone of Travis Kelce's stature, you can never compare him to Rob Gronkowski again. I'm gonna say
ever again, and I don't want even like Gronk. That would never happen to Gronk. And there's that clip circulating after that happened of when Gronk was facing the Chiefs and he dove into the end zone and got like flipped in the air and landed on his back in the end zone. And like, oh, what about this? Yeah, Gronk dove into the end zone 10, like basically from the 5-yard line, and I can't believe Chiefs fans are saying that that's a comparable play. No, Travis Kelce, a tight end who had 50 pounds on Derwin James, was running right at him or sideways because Travis Kelce doesn't run downhill. He runs sideways. And Derwin James was like, F that. I'm a monster, and drove him. And Travis Kelce kept trying to go, and Derwin James just picked him up and slammed him. I thought that was literally a two. I think he's only 215 pounds. I don't think
he's something around there.
I remember it's in the he's kind of in the lower end of the 200s, and Travis Kelce's like 265, 270, like something around there.
Darwin is 215 on the dot.
Yeah,
way to go,
so and 15, and I think Travis Kelce is 265,
260.
Okay, so he has pounds on him. He has a lot of pounds on him.
Oh yeah,
and Derwin James just threw that away. He didn't care. And how many dropped interceptions did the Chargers have? I think that's being a very untalked about storyline from this game. They dropped 5 picks, and then they also had picks that got called back. Mahomes continues to get bailed out by calls when he throws interceptions. I feel like the stat always circulates that he's a quarterback who throws the most dropped interceptions, if that makes sense. And it's clear he must have thrown 4 dropped interceptions in that game.
I agree. I also want to say, I think I said Cam Akers. I meant to say Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I think
when the truck, Clyde Edwards-Helaire trucked him. But yeah, I mean, it was a tough Thursday night. It's still both up. Hopefully Herbert, I mean, they're coming back. They're playing Jacksonville in week 3. So, I mean, I would say straight up, if he's not 100%, we should sit him. My guess, though, is that he's going to be playing in this game. But I say we move on to the Sunday slate. We had some exciting games going on in Sunday. These first 2 games we have on our list are probably 2 of my favorites, so let's get right into it. The team, Stav, the jersey that you have right behind you, we got the Pats, we got the Steelers. Stav, get us started with this game. Crazy game.
I think that obviously I'm a Patriots fan. Will the same. I'm happy with the improvement that they showed from week 1 to week 2. The offensive line was great, in my opinion. I thought that, Mac Jones didn't get sacked once. We ran the ball very well, especially in the second half. And a guy I really did want to kind of shine some light on is Cole Strange, because no one really gave him a chance. Everyone kind of just shit on him right when he got drafted, but he allowed 0 pressures and he handled Cam Hayward pretty well. I think there's a lot of videos around Twitter that are circulating of him just picking up every single read that he had. There's a lot of stunts in the Steelers defensive line, and he didn't skip a beat. That offensive line, the tackles need some work, but I really like our interior offensive linemen with David Andrews, Cole Strange, and Michael Owenu. Nelson Aguilar, what a catch he had to end the first half. That, I think, decided the game. I think without that catch, the Patriots wouldn't be necessarily in a position to win that game at the end. They'd be driving to put a score that they needed. However, Aguilar makes a crazy catch, probably a candidate for catch of the year up to this point. And Mac Jones threw for 275, had a touchdown, but he still did look shaky at times. He may be nervous on a few throws. He threw a really bad pick that was intended for Devontae Parker. But we win. It's a win. It's Victory Monday for Patriots fans. We got a big test against Baltimore next week. Will, what do you think?
Definitely love the Victory Monday for the Pats. Obviously, love getting the first one of the season. An important win, I would say, after coming out super flat against the Dolphins last weekend. So you like to see that. Definitely agree with you. The offensive line looked great. It looks like we're starting to shape things up a little bit more. Obviously, we saw what the Steelers did week 1. We kind of don't really know where their trajectory is at this point. Obviously, preseason, we were like, they might not be that good at all. Week 1 comes around, they could be decent. Definitely a lot of struggles from the Steelers, though. I don't know where they're entirely headed. I feel like it's getting closer and closer to Kenny Pickett starting for them. I feel like after this week, we could be leaning towards that direction in a few weeks, depending on how good or bad Mitch Trubisky does. So I feel like that could be interesting.
That's a good point. And I don't think that the Steelers are putting Mitch in a position to actually play. A lot of these,
going to say.
That's what we've been saying.
I know.
Like-
I feel like playing against us, especially I wasn't able to watch the whole game, but I know he threw a pick. Did he throw more than one pick?
no, he just threw one.
Yeah, that one
But
it
wasn't even entirely his fault.
It
was
wasn't,
tipped up in the air, and
But
it was
they're
a great play by
Max
Mac Wilson.
Mills
every
pulled it
mistake
down, yeah.
that he's making is like
Definitely wasn't a good ball.
Yeah. I feel like every time he makes a quote unquote mistake or something that like is his fault, but like couldn't obviously like avoid it, I feel like it's just escalated up a few times just because they have Kenny Pickett waiting to come in, and they're making this excuse easier on themselves. So I feel like anytime that will happen, like pretty much every pick that he throws for the rest of the season is like 1 point closer to him being on the bench.
I mean,
that's
exactly what it is, and that's how it has been for Mitch Trubisky, whether it be here, whether it be when he was in Chicago. They don't set him up to succeed, and that's not being based off of who they put around him. It's about the pressure that they put on him. You know, it's always the fact that Mitch Trubisky, in my opinion, Mitch Trubisky can play quarterback in the NFL. I think he can be a starting quarterback in this league. Every single time he gets a shot to go out and do it, he has, someone breathing down his neck. Everybody knows that person that's behind him is going to be the starting quarterback for no reason. They don't really call it a battle. They give the starting job week 1 to Mitch Trubisky, and we all know Kenny Pickett's going to be in there at some point. It really doesn't make sense. I think if Mitch Trubisky was playing with a little bit less pressure, we'd start to see kind of him relaxed a little bit more. He only ran one time for 7 yards. I think Mitch Trubisky is someone that can go out there, make plays, get a couple, maybe 3, 4, 5 attempts on the ground as well. 21 for 33 from him isn't that bad for Mitch Trubisky. I do want to say, looking on the Patriots side, the offense looked good, but the way that Mac Jones was set up, I think he should have done a lot more.
I agree, 100%.
I think he should have done a lot more with the way that he was set up. Aguilar kind of bailed him out on that ball, but honestly, that wasn't a bad ball at all. That's an NFL type ball. You go up, you have to make your wide receiver go up and grab it. He didn't really have him beat too much, but I think that he could have kind of led him to it.
Yeah, I agree.
A touchdown is a touchdown. Aguilar, bright spot on that team. Jacoby Myers as well. I want to see that ball get distributed a little bit more. Free Kendrick Bourne. The run game, as always, fantastic. This is a big win for the Patriots. I think they should have won by 10 points at least.
I agree 100%. And like I said, the improvement from week 1 to week 2 is astronomical in my opinion. How bad that offense was week 1,
Agreed.
and the fact that they could score multiple touchdowns now, and they could actually get the ball going down the field a little bit. And I like the single back set that they're running, the spread empty offense sometimes too. A lot of the crossing routes getting guys open, because a lot of the time our receivers aren't known for generating separation or getting separation off of corners, and the crossing routes enable that. And Kendrick Bourne, like you just said, Griff, you got to free him. I mean, let the man play. He's one of the best receivers on our team, and he's a guy who's fast, can get open, and Mac Jones has great chemistry with. And
I think Kendrick Bourne could be a wide receiver too on this team. I
think 100%. 100%. And he's a guy who I think him and Nelson Aguilar, they complement each other. They're both fast guys. I'm not saying that they're Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, but I'm saying that these are guys who can make plays for your offense. Jacoby Myers he has great hands. He's a guy who you're going to throw to, and he's going to get tackled right away, or he's a possession receiver. He's not going to break a tackle and take the ball 50 yards. But Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar are two guys who can do that.
Definitely.
Agreed.
I mean, but the thing is, like, if this offense keeps rolling the way it does, I don't think we'll be continuing to talk about Kendrick Bourne in terms of him not getting the ball enough. I think it's only a matter of time. And once again, I've already said it, but I think a big part of that is all down to Mac Jones. I really want to see him get going. I think that the reason why they didn't win by more than 3 was because of the way that Mac Jones played. And I'm not saying that he played bad. I'm just saying that he could have played a lot better, in my opinion.
He missed a lot of
standards that I have for him. I just think that he's a better quarterback than what we saw in week 2 and most definitely in week 1.
Before we move on to the next game, and this is bad journalism, but little Jordan Humphrey.
Watch the YouTube.
Yeah, watch the YouTube. So little Jordan
Jordan
Humphrey is on the right side here. Look at how open he gets on this play that Mac Jones throws a pick. He's wide open. That's a touchdown.
Oh yeah, that's a touchdown.
That's a touchdown. He missed him, and he ended up throwing a pick, or I think it was the bad throw that should have been picked off. But that's what film's for. That's what practice is for. They got their first home game next week. I'm excited to see what they can do against a really good Baltimore Ravens team. And speaking of the Ravens, let's move on to probably the game of the afternoon. The Dolphins versus the Ravens. What a comeback for Miami. I mean, I know we're division rivals, but that was just a beauty to watch. The Ravens were up 35-21 heading into the fourth quarter, and the Dolphins came back. I mean, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, the fastest humans on the planet, and Tua was giving them footballs to catch, and they made plays. I mean, it was as simple as that, and the Ravens secondary was just awful. They gave up. It seemed as if they thought the game was over, and the Dolphins took advantage of that.
I mean, what a game. This was crazy. This was what people right when Tyreek got traded to the Dolphins, this is exactly what people were thinking, like those overreactions. And what a game from Tua. With 2 picks, although I think they were both in the first half, came back, finished the game with 469 yards. And it really is just about if he can get it to his playmakers. And guess what, guys? He did. Tyreek and Waddle, like you said, I mean, put up insane numbers. They had 11 receptions apiece. Mike Gesicki got involved a little bit as well, which is what we've been waiting for. Overall, just an amazing offensive effort from Miami. This was just a dogfight. It was just back, forth. But I don't want to talk down on the Ravens. I think that the Ravens played an amazing game on offense. The defense has some things that they need to figure out, especially later in games. Giving up 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter is not something that a team that's going to win a division is going to allow themselves to do. Losing 42-38 to the Dolphins this is one of these games. This is a statement game from the Dolphins, and this is a big, I don't want to say turnaround because they're 2-0 now, but I mean, they could be a playoff team. They could really be a 5 seed here, and I think that this might be a matchup that we see in the playoffs again, is Ravens-Dolphins. I think that we could easily see the Ravens go out and win the North, especially, we'll talk about the Bengals in a little bit, but especially with how the Bengals have started. And I think we could see the Dolphins not win the East, but take that top wild card spot, play the Ravens in that wild card weekend, and it's going to be another great game. This game was a classic.
Agreed. And this game we knew was bound to be a crazy game because they started off the game with the Ravens getting off the reception. Off the kickoff, they scored a touchdown. He returned the first kickoff of the year, return for a touchdown. And then I want to say Rashad Bateman had an absolute day off that one play that he made. I think it was I forgot how far he ran. It was 71-yard touchdown or something like that. But I had him in fantasy, and I remember looking at my phone. He had 4 receptions for over 100 yards and I think a touchdown or 2.
One touchdown, yeah. And that's right. Well, it was a 75-yarder. It was on the first play of that drive. And I want to say I'm glad you brought up Bateman. Bateman's going to be the reason why this team wins the AFC North. It's because he's a wide receiver 1. And we just didn't get to see him because of injury. But now that he's back, he's going to be terrific. He is perfect for that offense. He's going to be the wide receiver 1. I also do love Demarcus Robinson. If they can get him more involved, this team's they're going to be just fine. They got depth at tight end now. Mark Andrews, obviously, but rookie, Mass native as well, Coastal Carolina alum. So a lot of eyes going his way for me. Isaiah Likely, big day for a rookie tight end. Backup. 4 receptions, 43 yards. That's 40 more yards you add to that offense. Both offenses, but that offense in particular had a day on the ground, in the air. They did it all. Miami just did it in the air, and they got it done. And
which is honestly a surprise because we haven't really had too much great to say about Tua, especially we don't really know what he's like. We all questioned him throwing the ball, and when he got done, he had an absolute day yesterday. I don't know what this means for the rest of the season, but if he can do that somewhat on a consistent basis, not exactly what he did on Sunday, but if he can do half of that, the Dolphins are in a good situation this season.
100%. And kind of going back to the Ravens, Lamar needs to get paid, first of all. I think that he just showed out yesterday. If there's a power rankings of people you can blame, he is at the very bottom for this loss.
Bottom.
He
Oh,
did
yeah.
everything he could. He almost had a perfect passer rating. He didn't
Led
turn
the
the
team
ball
in
over.
rushing.
Yeah, he had that
Yeah,
huge 80-yard
everywhere.
touchdown run. Had 3. I think he threw for 3 touchdowns, 3 or 4 touchdowns.
I think it was 3.
Yeah, and he ran for 1. Yeah, he had 4 total touchdowns. That's right. That's what I was reading. Okay, but
even the week before, he had, I think, 3
Yeah.
touchdowns thrown.
So he's playing awesome. He's playing back to his MVP capabilities, and it kind of brings up, like, this game particularly for me brings up the question how important J.K. Dobbins is to this Ravens offense, because you wonder how if they could have wasted more clock if Dobbins was there, having him being their RB1, taking away a lot of yards and chewing the clock really was the problem for this Ravens team, especially in the fourth quarter. They had their opportunities to put the game away. They just never could really capitalize and stop the bleeding when the Dolphins were just throwing 80-yard touchdowns to the 2 fastest players on the team. But I do want to be on camera and on note saying that I do want to give Tua credit for what he did, throwing 6 touchdowns over 400 yards. I mean, credit to him, I guess. And it's a big test next week with the Bills going down to Miami. That's going to be the battle for the first seed early on in the season for the AFC East. I think for the AFC in general.
For the AFC,
Yeah.
So
agreed.
that'll be good. And we'll stick in the AFC East. Jets versus Browns, another drunk game. The Jets won after a very improbable comeback, I want to say. I just want to be on record as well saying you cannot blame Nick Chubb for going into the end zone on that play. If you're going to blame anyone, blame Cade York for missing the PAT. It's Nick Chubb was on the 11. For those who don't know, Nick Chubb the Browns were on the 11-yard line. He had a toss sweep, and he had the option of going down at the 1 with like a minute and a half left, or a minute 55 seconds left, or score. He scored to put him up 2 possessions, and Cade York missed the PAT. And then the Jets get the ball back, throw a deep ball to Corey Davis, who scores a touchdown with like a minute 20 seconds left. But the Browns secondary was nowhere to be found. They didn't cover Corey Davis, and Joe Flacco took advantage. And then an onside kick, and the Jets recovered after there was clearly like no hustle from the Browns. Everyone else just kind of was like, oh, who's going to get this ball? And the Jets players got it. And then Garrett Wilson scores a game-winning touchdown. And it's not even over at that point. The Browns had a chance to take 3. There's like 30 seconds left on the clock, and Jacoby Brissett threw a pick, who, when he did look pretty solid in this game, I can't say he didn't, but the Browns really choked this game, and you can't blame Nick Chubb. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. I think he might have caught one. But no, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. You can't blame him for scoring a touchdown to put you up 2 possessions. What if he doesn't score? Then you lose by even more. But whatever. Can't blame Nick Chubb.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly it. And if you're someone that may or may not have had Browns money line just thrown in there in your parlay, and that's the only one that missed, like me, then you had a very bad Sunday. This was a game that the Browns needed to win. This was, in my opinion, a must-win game. You know who's coming back. I mean, more than halfway through the season. So you kind of look at their schedule, right, and you kind of pick apart the games that they should win without Deshaun Watson and the games you shouldn't win. And you look at that and you're like, okay, if they win those games that they should win, they're going to be just fine for when he comes back. If he comes back and is who we remember him to be in Houston, on the football field, of course. But they went out and they lost. This is a gigantic loss because you have now 9 more weeks of football with Jacoby Brissett, who didn't look too bad, but he's not a starting quarterback. You have 9 more weeks of him behind center. You're going to have to run the hell out of the ball. That's what they did in this game. That defense from Cleveland, in my opinion today, other than that defensive line, that secondary looked atrocious. The defensive line looked good. A bright spot on that D-line, obviously there's Myles Garrett, but Jadeveon Clowney actually looked pretty good. I want to say he had a forced fumble or maybe a recovery. He had something like that where he just came off the line crazy. He added a sack to his total today too. Joe Flacco looked old. He threw for 300 yards. He threw the ball 44 times, and we said this in week 1 as well. Who is letting this guy throw the ball this much? Another thing that I was looking at, and I'm very interested in with the Jets this year was in week 1, we saw a lot of Michael Carter. Now in week 2, we see a lot of Breece Hall. I'm kind of wondering who's going to win that battle, because whoever wins that battle is going to be getting a lot of fantasy points. They like to run the ball a lot. They like to dump it down a lot to their running back as well. Both of those guys I kind of see not as the same player, but they kind of do provide the same things for a team in terms of running out of the backfield, catching passes as well. So I'm interested to see who's going to really win that running back battle. Week 1, I was kind of certain it was going to be Michael Carter, but week 2 threw me in for a whirlwind, and they went out. They won a game. They're 1-1, the New York Jets. Yeah.
That was a
Crazy
game. But
100.
I was gonna say that's really it. I have nothing to add to that game.
Yeah.
The game was like all right. I mean, I guess the good comeback from the Jets. The game I did want to talk about was the Lions versus the Commanders. Lions get their first dub of the year. Commanders came out super flat. I don't know what was going on with that, which is kind of a shock after week 1. They played very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You said it right. I mean, the Commanders had all the opportunity to continue the momentum from week 1 and apply it here against a Lions team that's kind of no one really knows if they're good or going to be the same old Lions. And let's give credit to the Lions as well. They played well. I mean, the defense in the first half, Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks, and they forced Wentz. I think he threw a pick in the first half, and Goff threw 4 touchdowns in 256 yards. When have we ever seen Jared Goff do that? Yeah, and I don't remember.
Never.
I think the last 2 episodes I've said Jared Goff worst starter in the NFL. I'm going to stick with it. I still believe it. The reason why they won this game, there's 2 simple reasons. One is Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he went ballistic in the first half. Finished the first half with 3. I thought he was going to get 10 sacks in this game, but finished with 3 to wrap it all up. But, I mean, the best player on that field was Amon-Ra St. Brown. He finished the game with 68 yards on the ground, rushing. Their leading rusher had more yards than DeAndre Swift in this game, as well as racking up 9 receptions for 116 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air. That's 184 all-purpose yards from Amon-Ra. That's 2 touchdowns. I mean, he went crazy. His longest rush was 58 yards. His longest catch was 49 yards. He was doing everything. This is exactly what we thought Amon-Ra was going to be doing this year. And the Lions went out. They won a tough football game. I feel like I said this on the last episode. This was going to be a good game. I knew this was going to be a good game. And in my opinion, although it was a 9-point win, you could kind of get to a big win. It's more than a touchdown. It's more than 1 score. I liked watching this game a lot. I very much so enjoyed this game. I like the way that both of these teams play. They're kind of 2 subpar teams that can go out, score a good amount of points, and they have some exciting players on both sides. I really think that Carson Wentz sucks. I think Jared Goff sucks too. But all these skill positions and a lot of these defensive guys on both of these teams are very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see the Lions win the game. I think that they are talented. We all watched them in Hard Knocks. It's a great Hard Knocks, and they're a team that you kind of want to root for and see succeed just because you've seen the behind the scenes in the preseason and all the work that they put in to become a competitive team in the NFL.
Yeah, great. It's as simple as that.
All right, and the next game we have on our list, Giants versus Panthers. Giants won. Next game we have on the list is the Colts versus the Jaguars. What is wrong with the Colts?
The Colts suck.
What is wrong with them?
It's because every year they come in with a different quarterback that's like 400 years old, and they're like, yeah, this is the year. It was Phillip Rivers, then it was Carson Wentz, and now it's Matt Ryan. Why not go out and they should have got Baker.
They should have.
In my opinion, they should have drafted somebody. They should have done anything. I love Matt Ryan. I have a Matt Ryan jersey at home. I think he's awesome. But Matt Ryan shouldn't be the quarterback of this team, and it's for one reason. It's because he's an Atlanta Falcon. They don't have a quarterback, guys. They haven't had a quarterback in years. They haven't. And that's why they're going to struggle throughout this whole year until they get someone they need a young guy. This is just my opinion. Obviously, you guys could disagree with me. But going out getting a veteran for 1 year isn't the type thing to do when you have a roster that's like this, that is going to be together for 5-6 years. This core team where you have Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines right behind him, you have the receivers now with he didn't play, but Michael Pittman. You have the tight ends, you have the depth, you have a defense. You need to go out, get a young quarterback, give him a year, because they're just searching for wild cards right now. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what the Colts are doing with the way that they hire their quarterbacks. You need to go out, either get a young guy from a trade, or in my opinion, next year, I think that they should go out and try to draft one if they're at the right spot. Get him for a year, 2. He doesn't have to be the best player on your team to go make a run, because this team is so solid, the core that they have around it, that I don't think that they should keep getting these rental quarterbacks. I think that's exactly the reason why they're losing this game, and they're going to lose a couple of games where we kind of see our head shake, and it's exactly for that reason.
So, Griff, I was kind of
okay.
You go.
Okay, I was going to say, I remember last year we talked about this too, that this defense, we talked about this defense for the past 2 years, where we were like, this defense is going to be very, very good, but they have a limited amount of time left. And they only have, in my opinion, 3 years max before that little drop-off goes down, contracts start happening, and still until they have to they're going to be able to rebuild a few pieces that leave here and there. But once those core defensive pieces leave or don't re-sign, then they're in for trouble, especially not having a quarterback on that team, switching it pretty much every single year since Andrew Luck retired. They're setting themselves up for failure every single year in and year out. And I agree with you completely that they either should have went for Baker or drafted a quarterback in this past draft.
And like exactly what you said, Will, that's both of you guys kind of hit the head of the nail here. But the Colts were kind of going into this game shorthanded. They didn't have Michael Pittman. They also didn't have Darius Leonard, right? And those are 2 huge losses. Those are probably arguably your best players on both sides. I know Jonathan Taylor was still there, but without
best receiver and then best defensive player.
Yeah, so that it's hard to. I mean, you still got shut out. You got shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's not.
And not only did you get shut out, so your offense stinks. Your defense gave up 24.
Yeah, they made Christian Kirk look like the best receiver in the NFL. He went for 6 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Christian Kirk's a good player, but I guess he's making that contract look okay. I mean, he's played well in the first 2 weeks. Kind of have to give him credit. I mean, and Trevor Lawrence played okay. We kind of wrote him off after last week, but I mean, he did his job. I still think ETN sucks. I think that James Robinson's by far the better running back for that team, and ETN continues to just struggle in this offense. So it's make or break for him in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. It's going to be tough for ETN to really win any of us over at this point, just because of how good James Robinson is. So this 2-week downfall really wasn't good for him. Speaking of downfalls, we had a quarterback in New Orleans throw 3 picks on Sunday in a tough loss. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into the Superdome. You know what Tom Brady does against this team. But I do want to say, although Tampa Bay won 20-10, Tom Brady looked very frustrated, and a report came out after this game that he's just not practicing on Wednesdays anymore.
Got to practice on Wednesdays. Wednesday's a cool day. I mean, it doesn't.
He's having Veterans Day. That's his day off every week.
Marriage counseling day. But
it makes no sense. But I mean, it's a tough loss for New Orleans. This was, I don't want to say must-win game. I've already thrown out must-win game on this episode. It's very early, but you take in someone that you're battling for the NFC South against this team. This is the one game you have at home against them.
And I kind of want to twist your words a little bit here. This was a very winnable game for the Saints that they'll look back on and regret not winning. I mean, the Bucs didn't have Julio Jones, Chris Godwin. They didn't have Russell Gage, I don't think. Mike Evans got kicked out of the game because he loves fighting Marshawn Lattimore. Those guys
every game.
They hate each other. They hate each other. And
every single game they fight.
And Brady, like you said, looked frustrated. The offense had a chance to. I mean, the Saints they had plenty of chances. Jameis threw 3 picks. You can't do that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is back-to-back weeks where the Bucs offense struggles. Who's to say that the Saints still don't have time to make up and win this division. I mean, the Falcons and the Panthers, they're both 0-2. I don't see them actually making some noise, but the Saints, I think all three of us had the Saints making the playoffs in the pod.
I had them winning the division.
Yeah, and they still can. Obviously, it's early in the year, but this is a game you got to have. You could have really opened some eyes up in the NFL, and I'm not really sold on the Bucs right now. I know they had their injuries, but I did not like what I saw.
Yeah, no, I'm not sold on the Bucs either, and I still think that the Saints have plenty of time to make up for this loss. Obviously, like you said, Sav, you couldn't have said any better that this will be a game that they look back at when they play the Saints again, and whatever the result of that game is, they're gonna be like, we really should have won that game. And if they happen to lose, when they play the Bucs again, and if they happen to lose to them twice, they're gonna really, really regret not winning this game.
Agree. And that's exactly the case. Moving on, we got Seahawks, 49ers. You know, my team, the Seattle Seahawks, we already won our Super Bowl. I guess I can just say best part of the game, worst part of the game, because I'm going to come out right now. I've been saying it. I'm going to say it again. We're not going to be good this season. Like, we're not going to be good. We're going to be maybe top 5 worst teams in the league, and that's exactly why I've been talking about our future quarterback, Bryce Young and/or CJ Stroud. We went out. I had this as my lock of the week. I was riding high. It was a weird episode last time I recorded. It was after a victory, it was a big win. Bright spot of this team from week 2, Tyler Lockett, 9 receptions, 107 yards, put up a good amount in fantasy as well. The lowest spot on this team was DJ Dallas. He was in for one play.
Oh my God.
It was a trick play where they tossed it to him to the right side, and he went to go throw it. DK Metcalf was clamped, so he just threw it to the other team. He literally threw it. Nobody was around that area. He threw it right to who caught the pick.
It was number 7, I think. I could be wrong, though.
Who caught it? Was it Charvarius Ward? Yeah, it was. Nobody was around Ward. There was not a single person within 10 yards of him, and DJ Dallas just threw it right to him. I've never seen DJ Dallas throw a football. This is his 3rd or 4th year on the Seahawks. I've never seen that. Don't know where it came from. We were already down a lot of points. I'm glad we scored a touchdown today. I don't want to win another game this season. I'm ready for a good draft pick.
I kind of wanted to talk about this because obviously Trey Lance getting hurt and being out for the rest of the year, that sucks for my MVP prediction. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. That hurts the 49ers, but it doesn't kill them. I think that
they're better off.
Like Jimmy G is the guy. If they are to have anyone at quarterback, it's Jimmy G right now. I mean, he's brought them to the NFC Championship. He won them this game. And it does look like the 49ers rally around Jimmy G. Now they're like, okay, Lance is out. We don't have another option. We know what he's about. Let's boost our performance and help him out. And who knows how far this 49ers team goes. I mean, they have a lot of talent. Deebo Samuel's there. He's probably one of the best players in the NFL. That defense is good. And the Rams do look shaky, so the NFC West is open for grabs, or up for grabs.
Yeah, but it won't be the Seahawks to take it.
Or the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's just up to those two.
Yeah. So next game on the list, the Falcons versus the Rams. Falcons almost came back from 28-3. What would have happened there? I mean, like, does that mean just like the Falcons are going to be the Super Bowl favorites because they broke their curse? That was a perfect opportunity, but Jalen Ramsey said, nah, that's not going to happen on my watch. He had an incredible interception at the goal line, essentially, that sealed the game for the Rams. And this is back-to-back weeks again where Matthew Stafford doesn't really look great. I mean, Cooper Kupp is amazing, but Stafford, he's hurt, I think.
Okay, I feel like every take I've had other than my lock of the weeks for the past 2 weeks has been just spot on because the Falcons looked awesome. They looked awesome, and I said that last week. They were on a college-styled offense, but I didn't think it was going to work as well against L.A. Turns out it did. I thought that L.A. was a team that you can't really mess around with. Marcus Mariota went out there and did just that. What I liked from Mariota was he didn't rush. I'm used to seeing him rush for like 30, 40 yards. He couldn't. He just straight up couldn't because when the middle linebacker you're playing against is Bobby Wagner, he's kind of a little bit too smart to realize when somebody's going to be going out, rolling out, getting past the line of scrimmage. But he had to do it in the air. Now, he threw 2 picks, but he threw 2 TDs. In my opinion, he pretty much matched Matthew Stafford if you're comparing in the defense. The defense looked very good in the second half for the Atlanta Falcons. They had a great fourth quarter. That's a win for Atlanta. It's a win.
Yeah, they should have won. And Drake London's just awesome.
He is awesome.
He's great. I doubted him this week. I have him in fantasy, and I benched him just because I thought that Jalen Ramsey was going to clamp him, considering he's their only legit target that a corner would be covering the wide receiver 1. I don't know why I made that explanation a lot harder than it had to be, but he showed out. I mean, this is a big stage against the Super Bowl champions, and he showed out. He did his thing. He caught it. I think did he catch 2 touchdowns or 1? I know he had a 2-point conversion. I don't know if he had 2 touchdowns or not, but he played well. He had over 100 yards receiving. He had a lot of receptions. I mean, that's a great pick by the Falcons early on in the year. He's had back-to-back good weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
So the next game on the list, we have the Bengals versus the Cowboys. This was actually surprisingly a good game. But the question I want to ask you guys, Will, I'll start off with you. What's wrong with the Bengals? Is the Super Bowl hangover really bringing this team down?
I feel like the Super Bowl hangover, I mean, we can say that. I feel like that's like the best excuse for them, just to, I guess, make them feel less bad about how bad they've been playing. But as a whole, I really just don't think they're all there as a collective unit. I don't think they're not really playing as a team together. It doesn't feel like they're all kind of like locked in. I feel like they all kind of look a little dismantled and lost out there. They don't really, I feel like they I don't, for whatever reason, they lack confidence. It almost feels like on the field, where it just kind of looks like they're out there. They know what they can do. They just don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. Like Jamar Chase looks like confused on the sideline. Like he was just, I remember like on Red Zone, they like cut to him on the sideline, just looking there, and he kind of just like, he looked lost. Like he looked like he lost like the touch or something. I don't know what it's been. I feel like their O-line has been a little bit shaky. Definitely start the season. That definitely doesn't help them at all. But I also feel like losing Uzoma last year and not having like a solid tight end this year, I feel like is hurting them a lot more than they thought it would.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan of Hayden Hurst, but you're right. It's the fact that Uzoma was, and that was the whole narrative throughout last postseason. Uzoma was just the last of the Bengals from that era that they were terrible. And they went out, they tried to maybe improve in Hayden Hurst, and I just don't think that they're gelling as well as they did with Uzoma. And Stav, you put up a question up on these notes. Should the Bengals press the panic button? Yes. I really think they should. I'm not somebody that believes in Super Bowl hangovers. I never thought it made sense, and I bet you guys also agree because you're Patriots fans. This is just straight up because they didn't even win the Super Bowl. Like they should be coming back with vengeance. I think a big part of why they're losing these games is they're trying to do too much. They're not sticking to their guns. They're like, yeah, we have T. Higgins, we have Jamar Chase, we have Joe Burrow. Like, let's draw up the craziest stuff for them, right? But that's not what they need to do. Like, they just need to stick to their guns. They need to get on the ground a lot more. With Joe Mixon, with Samaje Perine. I'm a big fan of Perine, and I mean, everybody's a big fan of Joe Mixon. They should be running for over 100 yards a game. And if they do that, that's going to open up a lot of seams for Joe Burrow to pass. And I think that they will figure that out. I don't know if it'll be soon enough, but you're playing in a division where, I mean, I guess you're only going up against the Ravens, so they have the chance to do it. Cooper Rush looked amazing in this game. 1 touchdown, 19 for 31. Zeke had a decent game, but it was really all the Cooper Rush to Noah Brown show on this Sunday afternoon. And that's really what stood through.
I 100% agree, and I think that the surrounding cast of Cooper Rush really did step up. I mean, Tony Pollard played great. I thought he had a lot of yards. He had a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had, I think, 6 receptions for 75 yards or something along those lines. He played well as well, opening up the other guys. And the Cowboys just need to kind of weather the storm, I think, until Dak returns. And once Dak returns, this team, I still am a believer in the Cowboys if they can survive until Dak comes back.
I agree. I mean, I feel like they like we saw last night. Cooper Rush was definitely someone that can hold them by. I feel like they have the offense down simple enough for them to just be able to go out there, run some basic offense, let their defense put some work in and come out with these games. I feel like a lot of these games that they're going to play, they're going to be closer games, but I feel like they are a better team. They're going to be able to pull out with those games, which, like we said, we were talking about obviously the Bengals offense earlier, and Griff said they're kind of being a little too complex. I feel like last year they almost dumbed down their offense enough for them just to make those basic plays, which almost allowed them to win more games. Like when they play against teams like the Chiefs last year, which they beat in the AFC Championship game, they almost kind of like dumbed down their offense enough where it kind of almost caught them off guard. Like, oh, why are they running these such simple plays? And they didn't have enough time to react to those, make those adjustments at all. And then they would run deeper plays. They're not doing enough to start off the bat. Like words are hard for me right now. I don't know why I can't talk today, but like they're not doing enough to start the game, to set the tone. They're just going out there thinking they're going to score one play touchdowns the whole time.
Yeah, and I love Joe Burrow. I mean, literally have his jersey hanging up behind me, but he's got to have to kind of go back to that loose mentality. Like, let's go out there, sling it, and make some plays and have some fun. It looks like they're trying to be too mechanical. Will, you're right. They don't look like the same team that we saw last year, especially in that playoff run. It kind of looks like the expectations are getting to them, and they brought in the right pieces. They improved the offensive line. They replaced their tight end, but I mean, chemistry is a real thing, and these guys really need to step it up. I mean, you can't lose to a Cowboys team that everyone kind of wrote off before this game even started. And that's a bad loss, I think, for the Bengals. And fun fact, by the way, no team that has started off 0-2 last year, or no team that started off 0-2 last year made the playoffs. So that's something worth noting considering the Bengals went 0-2 to start this season. And speaking of terrible teams, the Broncos versus the Texans. What is going on in Denver? I mean, that just looks like a sinking ship, and Nathaniel Hackett's pouring water into the boat.
And you brought up the name. That's the reason why they're on that downfall. It all comes down to the coaching, because it can't be the players. It physically, like, you look at these names on this team, it can't be the players, right? So it has to be the coaching. It's a first-year head coach. Cortland Sutton looked great. But at the end of the day, when you have a vet out there like Russell Wilson, if you're not giving him the opportunity to go out and kind of get the run game going and then get the pass game going, he's not going to thrive. And the fact that it's so weird. Wherever Russ goes, they just love running the football. They love it. Russ threw for 31, not 31 completions, but attempts. He only had 219 yards. He just doesn't make the right decisions all the time. It's the fact that they don't have guys, and I really don't think Judy's in the same kind of realm as Tyler Lockett, where it comes to guys that are going to beat you right off the ball and you're going to go out and get one of those basket catches. They don't have those guys. They have playmakers. They have guys that they're not going to catch it over the shoulder. They're going to go up and get a ball. Russ is going to figure that out soon. They escaped with a win. They shouldn't have won this game, though.
No, they shouldn't have. And how about the Texans 0-1-1? The worst. That's just such an ugly record, and that team.
And this is the second week in a row where Jeff Driscoll has done a read option.
Yeah, what is going on with that? Like,
I don't know. He's done it twice now. He's only played 2 downs, and it's 2 read options, and I think he has first downs on both of them.
Are they just setting up some insane trick play like week 7?
Have to be.
Like just so people are like, oh, worth noting. Jeff Driscoll, whenever he comes in, it's a read option, and they'll run a play action or something and get 8 yards out of it, or he'll throw a pick, and everyone will question it. But that's such a random thing I mean, they scored 9 points, and Russ threw a pick. They had opportunities, but they never really capitalized. Yeah, this Texans team stinks, and I don't think the Broncos are, especially because of their coach. I mean, they ran out of timeouts with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's ridiculous. You go from 1 week not using any of your timeouts to the next week using all of them before you actually need to use them. And it got to the point.
Everybody's just in Nathaniel Hackett's head. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And it got to the point where the fans in Denver were chanting or counting down the play clock so they could snap the ball on time. They had way too many penalties, and it's an ugly start. But I mean, hey, you won a game. You're 1-1. We have a real test next week on Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers, which Jimmy G versus Russell Wilson.
I got the Niners in that game. But
Yeah, I got the Niners. Yeah, we'll that'll be on next episode. I think there are predictions of week 3, but yeah, the Broncos don't really look too hot to start the season. And the next game, the last game of the 4:00 slate, this game was also drunk. The Cardinals versus the Raiders. The Raiders blew a 20-point lead to the worst team in the NFL. I hate the Cardinals. They should have lost
on
this
the
game.
weekend that the new beta for COD came out. This is a big victory for Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that kind of silences the Call of Duty crowd unless he's
It won't.
Yeah, I guarantee. I mean, my only thought process was that
Week 1 was a double XP weekend, and that's why the Cardinals lost.
Yeah,
maybe Kyler doesn't like the new COD.
It's a pretty good game. I don't know why he'd be
Good game.
Yeah, but anyways, Kyler runs around like a toddler that stole their parents' phone. I saw that tweet. I thought that was pretty funny. I forgot who tweeted it out, but shout out to them. But this game was drunk. The Raiders were up 20-0. They didn't target Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams is probably a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Hunter Renfrow fumbled twice. And who was it? Was it Byron Murphy or something? He threw that ball through the end zone, and I think StatCast at the end of the game, for those who don't know, the Hunter Renfrow fumbled. Byron Murphy scooped it up, brought it back for 6 to end the game in overtime. But he threw the ball through the end zone right when he crossed the pylon, and the naked eye.
I don't think he passed. I don't think he got past.
StatCast said if he waited another 0.02 seconds, or like if he threw it another 0.02 seconds before he actually did, it would have been through the end zone, and it would have been Raiders ball, and that would have been an all-time blunder. And I think if you throw the ball through the end zone anyways, it should just be a penalty. And
okay, especially as a defensive player on a scoop and score, hold that ball. Just hold the ball. Pass.
Run. Literally just like spike it once you get in the end zone. Throwing a football through the end zone isn't even cool. That's not even a cool celebration. It just looks stupid, especially when you're not a quarterback and you look stupid throwing the ball. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And the Cardinals stink. I'm willing to put, if I could bet on teams that wouldn't win the Super Bowl, my list would be the Broncos, the Raiders, the Cardinals. Like Big Cat's pinky bet, I'm willing to do pinky bet for 3 teams: the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Cardinals.
All right. So yeah, I mean, if one of them wins, though, you have to cut off 3 fingers because you chose 3 teams.
That's fine.
So if one of them wins, you have to cut off 3 fingers. You can choose them. They don't have to be same hand. Yeah.
I'll do it. All right, but I'm just a tip. That's what Big Cat's pinky bet is, so I'm going to follow that.
No, you have to do whole pinky.
Whole finger.
Moving on. Actually, Sunday night.
Losing 3 fingers would be kind of cool. It's a good story. All right, continue.
Jason JPP. Sunday night football, the fireworks of Sunday night, JPP. Bears, Packers. This is exactly what we knew, exactly what we expected. The Packers win 27-10. Aaron Jones was an absolute monster. Now I want to come out and ask a quick question, Will. Why did Justin Fields only throw the ball 11 times?
It's a great question. Why did he throw the ball only 11 times? Like, I swear, every time the Bears go into Lambeau Field Sunday Night Football, they like lose brain cells.
They want to get killed.
As a whole team, whole organization, they walk like they're fine all week long. They're prepping. They're like, all right, let's go. We might be able to win this week. Sunday comes, they forget how to play football. They
forget Sunday night football in Lambeau every year, and they do the same thing I swear it's 27-10 every year.
Every single year. And regardless of how well or how good the Packers are doing, they never fail to make them look like absolute idiots on the field. Like, I remember I had an intramural kickball game, which we dismantled this other team. We won like 32-15. It wasn't even close. And then I came back at halftime, and I was like, what is going on in this game? I was like, 1, no surprise. 2, like, what are the Bears doing?
I thought you were about to relate your intramural kickball team.
Oh, yeah, we were the Packers, and they were the Bears. They didn't show up prepared.
Yeah. All right, but, yeah, no, you're right, Will. I mean, the Bears might as well have just been playing kickball the amount of times that they punted to the Packers. But what I hated Justin. This is kind of it is related to the game, but not the actual game itself. Justin Fields had one of the worst quotes ever. I think
About the fans.
Yeah, you don't say that. I hate players who shit on fans who have reason to be upset. And you're the franchise quarterback of a historic franchise like the Chicago Bears. And I'm not a Bears fan, but they've been terrible for a long time. And they've invested a lot of emotion, time, money into this team. And Justin Fields says it hurts more in the locker room than for Bears fans. They aren't putting in any work. I'd argue that they are putting in work, and at least they're showing up. Like, you could have 0 fans, and if they didn't show up, then what's your motive for playing? I mean, you really just that money hungry, and you're a guy who
next home game, no one should show up after that quote.
Yeah,
I think it's like all-time worst quotes. Has to
Yeah.
be.
Because this is one of the oldest franchises in NFL history, right? It's also, I would argue, one of the worst franchises in NFL history. They suck. They've always sucked. The best quarterback they've ever had is Jay Cutler. They suck. And the fans are some of the best fans in football up in Chicago. So the fact that, like, obviously they don't put in the same work because they're not the professional athletes. They are just the fans. But that's not something you can say, especially with a franchise that you play for.
And it's like, what if he played for a franchise that didn't have any fans? What's he going to say then? Like, it's one of those things where it really irks me because I do like Justin Fields, but that quote is just an all-time bad quote. You don't say that about your fans, and especially when they're literally probably out there defending you on Twitter, when they're buying your jerseys, when they're putting money into your pockets, putting their butts in the seats. Literally, it's such a gross thing to say, and it's not as if like the fans are attacking Justin Fields necessarily. There's no reason for him to take the shot at the fans. So I don't know. That's just a bad thing. Aaron Rodgers kind of did his thing. They did an ayahuasca celebration that was promoting drug use. You don't do that. But yeah, that wraps up Sunday, boys. Or that wraps up week 2 other than Monday night. I think we already did our Monday night predictions on the last episode, but I mean, for those who don't know, it's the Bills-Titans, the first game, and then the second game is Vikings-Eagles. I'm more excited for the Vikings-Eagles. Like I think we said in the group chat before, that's going to actually be a good game. The Bills are absolutely going to dismantle the Titans. And you want to move on to the recap of the lock of the week?
Yeah.
I think Griff might be frozen. But Will, congrats to us for winning our first lock of the week. It's Victory Monday for us. You're frozen, or you're on mute, Griff, I think. But
yeah, sorry, I was frozen, so I went on mute, but I'm back. Winning in the first 2 weeks could never be me. I like to play from behind.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Yeah, I like to battle every champion battles ever. I've never lost lock of the week.
Is this are we doing a jersey bet for the lock of the week, like the 2 losers buy the winner, or is that something we're doing? I don't remember if we
No, it's just Will has to buy a jersey.
Oh, that's right. Will has to buy a jersey.
Will just has to buy it. Like if he wins, he buys a jersey. If he loses, if Will doesn't get second place, he has to buy a jersey.
Fair enough.
Fair. But
if Will gets second place, I will buy a jersey.
Okay.
That's fair. I'll buy one as well if that happens. And should we add a little twist onto it if that Will gets to pick the jersey we get?
No.
It can't be custom.
No, yeah.
Stav wins, I get to pick the jersey Stav buys.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. But
it was a great week 2 victory. I'm sure the fans love it more than I do. Hopefully next week we can come out with another one.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I've been firing. I have at least 5 locks of the week for next week.
Yeah, so I'm ready. And I had the Patriots -2 hit by 1 point. Doesn't matter. A win's a win. Doesn't matter. I'm not happy with it. And I'm under the idea that if I actually bet on my lock of the week that it won't happen just because I'm the biggest mush ever, I don't think I've ever hit a bet in my life. And I will not bet on. Oh, okay. Idea. I will have some financial interest in this. I will essentially hedge my lock of the week just so it hits and I go 17-1 for the rest of the season.
I like that.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, so I think that wraps up our week 2 recap. Griff, take it away.
Thank you. We hope you guys enjoyed week 2. We got 2 Monday night games. You're going to listen to this on Tuesday, however. The Bills won and the Vikings won. I'm just going to say it straight up. We will see you guys on Friday for a week 3 preview. We hope you guys enjoyed. As always, have a good week. Catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.